All right, we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. I am Aaron, aka the Handy Outdoor Nerd, and this sexy gentleman to my left here is...
I'm Chris, aka MrCarrellScience. How's everybody doing tonight?
So we've got a fun show going on for you guys tonight. So we will kick off with our guest here in just a second. I'm gonna set my phone down real quick. There we go. Bump a bunch of stuff. All right, so our special guest tonight is Jeffrey Wright, aka Print 3D Channel. So Jeffrey, how's it going, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Aaron. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. So glad you could finally join us this week. You didn't.
I am great. Thanks, Jeff, for asking. Wonderful. I'm in desperate need of a haircut, but I'm doing okay.
Yeah,
I think I need one a lot more.
Yeah, I think we all do. Mine's actually like, yeah, no, I need a haircut. I'm afraid to give myself my traditional little faux hawk because I think it's going to be too high. It's probably going to be like up above here. So we're laying it down tonight. Show that big old bald spot in the back.
Hey TK, how's it going?
Oh, that's right, the chat room. I haven't done this in so long.
Yeah, it's been a while for you.
Yeah, well, like you were saying in the introduction, tried to get me on a couple of weeks ago, but that didn't go so well.
Yeah, you decided to bail out and just hang out in a hospital.
Yeah, that was a lot more fun.
They've got green jello there, so.
What was that?
They've got green jello there, so.
Actually, you know what was funny is because we can talk more about this later, but because of the situation of what was going on and what's going on, I was actually on a different floor than I normally would be for my issue that I had. I was in oncology, so the menu that I got was basically any kind of food that you wanted.
Nice.
Not that it's a good thing, but it kind of was. So a cheeseburger was my first night, I think. It was a cheeseburger underneath the dome. And then breakfast was just like eggs, apple turkey sausage, and like, I was like, you know what? I don't miss the cardiac ward.
This conversation reminds me of an episode of The Office. Have you watched The Office, Jeff?
Yeah, I do.
Have you seen the episode where they find out that one of the employees he's an ex-con, he was in prison, and they start asking him about what prison was like, and he's like, oh, we would have our 3 meals a day, and we would there was a TV, we'd sit there and watch TV. It wasn't really a lot to do. We'd go exercise if we wanted to, whatever. And everyone in the office gets this idea that prison is better than working in the office.
Gotcha.
So when you talk like that, it makes it sound like, man, I'd almost rather be in the hospital, man. I'll tell you what, I get Applewood smoked bacon and eggs and cheeseburger for dinner.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think it had a lot to do with what was going on. The entire floor above me was designated for the situation that we're in currently.
Right.
And it was a very odd experience because, like, I had to like say goodbye to my wife. So like.
So there's this guy I follow on TikTok, JT, and there's been the hashtag JT's heart. He went in for heart surgery this week.
Oh, yikes!
Yeah. So he's out now, but yeah, it was scary for him. I mean, he wasn't able to be around anybody else. So yeah, it's just kind of a crazy thing.
TK, I have seen both versions of The Office, and I definitely appreciate the British version, but unfortunately, there are certain words that are in the British version that maybe aren't considered swear words there, but they're considered swear words here, and it's hard to watch around my kids.
Yeah, keep doing tomorrow.
I mean, not that I watch it around my kids, but it's almost one of those, like, you're embarrassed if your kids walk in at one of those parts, So.
Yeah, The British, I actually like the British version a lot because the characters in there they were a lot more honest. Where this one was the American version, as much as I love it, and we're watching right now. Actually, we finished every episode of Upload, so we're waiting for the next season of that. But I like the British version a little bit more, just because what's his name is
Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais. God, I was lost. Ricky Gervais. He's really, really good at being really mean. So
yes. Have you seen the
really
movie?
Mean guy, Steve's not a mean guy, so it was kind of hard for me to get that payoff. I kept seeing him from the Anchorman characters.
I think he was in a movie called Dead Again, where he kept seeing dead people because he was dead again, or it's something I forget. He's in New York. He's a dentist, and is he a dentist? Yeah. Anyway, he keeps seeing all these dead people because he had a near-death experience. He died, and then he came back. He died for like 5-6 seconds or something like that. And so he keeps seeing all these dead people, and they keep haunting him. And he's just a douche. So, you've got something green setting in front of you and a bunch of other stuff setting behind you. But because you got something green, it makes me want to take and jump into our segment, Cool Prints. So, Jeffrey,
Cool
I will let you go first.
Well, I'm going to have to be what do you call that? Shameless plug for my own print. My lightsaber that I built. This was a labor of love and just something I really wanted to do. I've never done props before. So, and then building the whole thing in Maxon Cinema 4D, so you guys can get really good shot of everything, all the leathering.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all 3D printed. It's a combination of FDM and resin-based printing. So all the filament was AMZ's, which is this. This was the test print. If I can keep another color in here, you can actually see how green this is. It almost turns fluorescent. The reason why I did this is so when I'm sanding it, I could see how far down I've gone really easily if I went too far. So that was kind of a cool idea. But this was the scale size, and I messed up the scale, so it's like for a child. But yeah, this was all the little. Let's see, the little bolts. These things are all resin, and then even the little highlighted bolts, like these little pieces here. There's a couple other ones, and I actually didn't glue the hinge together. I wanted to make it so I could figure out how to improve on this at a later date. But the magnets on this end.
Yeah,
I thought one set of magnets would be enough, and it's not. It doesn't snap it together. But either way, it was a lot of fun, and just a lot of everything I did on here were firsts. I've never done metal paint like that. Never ever had a chance to do that. And then I even went and did the little bit of bluing on the tips there to kind of make it look like it was used. Yeah. And then inside, there's a little bit of soot by just kind of overspraying a little bit of black. Just little things everywhere. But yeah, this is my cool print. I mean, it was like, you can get the file. I'm not going to shameless plug, but you can get the files on My Mini Factory and Thingiverse.
Oh yeah. Well, I was a bit jealous whenever you're talking about, a printer that you have that's not been released. I was like, oh, come on, Jeffrey. Come on. Well, and then also you're like, oh yeah, this piece is printed. I'm just like, oh, I could print. Ah, crap. No. I can't.
Well, the resin prints, all the resin prints were just printed on a standard Elegoo Mars. It's just a pre-production model. It's the same.
No, I know, but I don't have a resin printer. That's why I'm a little bit jealous too. So
yeah, actually, might have another one coming in next week, but the small bits, I just didn't want to struggle with the FDM. I could have.
Oh no, I don't blame you on that. I 100% understand.
But yeah, instead it was a lot easier.
100% understand that.
I mean, I'll tell you, Jeff. I mean, that is gorgeous, man. It's very, very cool. And Feel free to
It
share.
reminds me of the design of everything, because I'm actually following the concept artist who came up with this design. It was his first job, and it was Star Wars, so it was like a huge thing for him. And this is pretty close. The difference is on his, he used like a cross-stitched, like a pattern on the metal handles here on the concept art. And there was a couple minor other differences for the released version when they built the prop through some other company. But it was kind of cool to stumble across the concept artist who had built this, and I tagged him in the in the Instagram post and stuff. I'm not expecting him to like, oh my gosh, that looks so great. But it was just kind of cool to find the original concept art and be like, well, this was pretty close to what he had kind of imagined actually ended up on screen. So, and I did a couple of things to make this. So the original plan was to shoot like a little segment where I was in like a cloak on a green screen, and there's going to be lightsabers and stuff. But that little hospital visit of mine took the wind out of my sails, and that was it. There was no way I was going to do it. But I made it so you could remove the emitter, and the interior of this diameter fits a standard fluorescent tube light cover. So you could slide just about anything down in here with lights in it on a dowel rod and just have a kind of wire run out one side where you couldn't see it. Or everything is connected with a dowel rod, and you could run, instead of using a dowel rod, you could run a piece of metal tubing down the middle of it and then connect all your wiring into some batteries at the bottom or whatever. I tried to get this close to being like kind of like a real prop that someone might actually use in a movie.
Oh yeah.
That was the idea. But yeah. So yeah. That's my cool print.
So do you have anything there with you, Chris?
This last week I didn't print anything, honestly. I've been really, you guys don't notice this because you only see me once a week or whatever, but I've been kind of sick, and I've been having some stuff going on where I've just taken up all my time. School's coming to a close, and so I've been really busy, and I just haven't had the opportunity. One of these days, I'm gonna be awesome like Jeff, and I'm gonna do a 365-day challenge, and I might just start with a 1 week challenge. Print something every day for a week and just see how it goes. I've got something that I'm going to print this next week, though. I don't know if it's going to even show up because it's green. Ooh, it just looks orange. It hides the fact that it's a Ryobi. So what I'm going to do is I noticed in my workshop, I've got a bunch of these Ryobi tools, but they're all, just everywhere. I just kind of put them on a shelf wherever I can find. And so what I want to do is I want to 3D print some sort of a fork that I can screw to the shelf, and then I can just take and slide them in, and they'll just kind of hang there from the shelf. Because all of these little battery holders are all the same shape and size for all the different tools.
The entire line is based off that same size battery.
Yeah. So that's gonna be my plan. I think it'll be pretty simple to design. I mean, you guys don't want to see me design something because that's.
Oh, I have seen you design many of things.
I will. Don't tempt me. I will bring up a picture of Thick Thon. All right. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you've ever had the privilege of seeing Thick Thon, Jeff, but back in the day, one of our very first streams, we each designed a maker coin for each other. So he designed me a maker coin, and I designed him a maker coin. And I tried to design a maker coin with his face on it. And it started out as a picture of Aaron just with glasses and a beard, and it eventually turned into a picture of Mr. T.
Nice.
I'm not exactly sure how it happened, but it's affectionately become known as Thick Thon because he goes by THON, the handy outdoor nerd, and so it's Thick Thon, THICC, because I'm woke.
So I've got a friend that sent me this gear.
Oh,
Whoa,
wow.
that's
For
tripping.
open RC
All right.
car or something?
No, actually, let me go ahead and turn the green screen off, so this will actually pick up. So, bam. All right. So you can see the gear here. You see just some of the gears down here.
Yeah, in the center axle.
Yeah, well, they're supposed to come up to about right there where my fingernail is. It's not all the way to the top, but most of the way. Well, they broke off, and if you look at it, they've got varying heights of where they set. So I did a test print after I did that, because that's one thing I've done numerous times is gears for things. And I didn't even know what it was to. So here was my test print. So you can see that little
Amazon Basics blue PLA I spot?
No, this is Overture.
Oh.
Amazon Basics blue. So specific too.
I know. I was just throwing a shot in the dark out there. Because they're, all the big time YouTubers, they have their, their famous one. Joel Telling's got, the high five blue. You look at that and you're like, oh yeah, there's the high five blue, or the Prusa orange or something. And so I was just, Amazon Basics blue PLA.
So, I mean, you can tell the difference is, yeah, this is thinner and in the middle because they've got it molded.
Right.
Wow. And I did obviously make it like this so it would print flat, but I also kept it with that dip in the top part. So anything that needed to be kind of going there would go there. And these mostly set fairly flat on the bottom there. So we'll see how that goes. But this was my test print. And so last night I went through and printed 2 of them.
Oh, there you
to
go.
give it that white look like the original one.
Right.
And you can see
Yeah.
And they just fit.
Nice.
Perfect.
So
so
that's what I did with it, and I'm super excited with it. So, and this is with Overture as well. This is the Overture white filament. So that.
Do you like that Overture PLA?
That's not bad. It really isn't. And you can get multiple colors, and then they also give you with each roll of filament a mat that you can put down for your printer.
Oh, nice.
A build surface, is it kind of like a fake build tack kind of stuff?
Kind of like fake build tack. It's got some texture to it, and it does pretty darn good. I have it on my Kitty Tech right back there. I've almost just peeled off my Flash Forge because this is just a smooth surface, so it doesn't really like to hold. I mean, and when I say smooth, I mean it doesn't feel like anything wants to stick to it.
Right.
Which is why I put the glue on it. But it's a glass bed. It's just a glass bed, so I could technically just flip it over and put it on the other side and see how that does. Which is probably what I'll try to do. But it doesn't want to set there super well. So that's my problem I have with that I gotta work on. And then I've worked on these guys for a watering system for my little greenhouse for starting plants.
You building a greenhouse?
It's a small greenhouse.
You got like a lot of yard space though, don't you?
I do. I have an acre.
An acre.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely got a decent amount of space for things to go on, which is nice. So I've got a couple things to talk about. Let's go and click share the screen. Here we go. So there is a call for makers. So this is from the maker community, from the Maker Faire. Not specifically a local one. I've not really dipped into it. I saw it the other day, so I saved it for the show. But it's a virtual Maker Faire, May 23rd.
So it looks like they're focused on responding to COVID stuff.
Yeah. So you can sign up to be part of a virtual Maker Faire. So you can apply now. I will put everything that we talk about in the links below.
That's kind of a cool idea. It brings everybody together that wants to see what's actually going on in the maker community as far as who's making PPE and who's doing a lot as far as like community work in their areas. Because I see they even have like a little bit of a rethinking the future.
Yeah. Learning and teaching, community organization, design and production, making. So yeah, I mean, and then you can just kind of go to it, hover over it, and it kind of just talks about some of the stuff, how the pandemic, all this food, learning, community.
It's changing the way people think about this stuff.
So yeah,
the homemaker is no longer the homemaker isn't the person who just makes dinner and does the laundry. The homemaker is now someone who takes care of the family in different ways.
Oh yeah, that's one thing I wanted to kind of toss up there since I had seen it. I thought that was really cool. This I've seen multiple times, but I decided to actually put it in for the show. I don't know if you guys ever seen it.
Oh, that is really cool. Is that actually what it is, isn't it?
It is a Rotary cell phone.
Oh, that's cool. I want one of those.
It's 3D printable.
That's definitely something that I could get into. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to pay for a cell phone plan, but it might almost be because it'd be
no, you just go get one of those, whatever you call it, those burner phones. They have burner phones now that are like iPhones for $99. I bought one for my daughter. So you can just take that and get the nice service and, get a nice. Obviously, they're using the same platform. They're just adding on the rotary dialer and takes those clicks and defines them into numbers and then converts them into a sound. I mean, that sounds like a pretty simple Arduino sketch.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's super simple. And so there's...
That's cool. I really want one of those. That was kind of like a brief tease of like the coolest thing I've seen for a long time.
So yeah, and the link to Rotary this on Facebook will be up there.
I want one. I've been walking down the street.
I mean, and just playing with a rotary phone is fun.
What's the security measure to open it though? I mean,
I don't know.
You put a padlock on
the back of it, so you can like a Rubik's Cube real quick.
There you go.
Well, you did see that there is an actual screen that's on it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's still a smartphone in theory. It's just taking the data from that rotary phone and converting it into digital.
But yeah, they've got a small right there. You can see it's dark.
Yeah.
So
pager-like screen. Yeah, they basically took like an old burner flip phone and turned it into a rotary phone.
So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of something cool to.
It is.
But yeah, the entire thing's 3D printed. So yeah, I mean, and the fun thing is you got to know what number you're dialing anyway. So it makes you have to remember, like we used to do.
And if you hand it to somebody, they're going to look at your face and be like,
what the heck did you just give me?
How do I use this? Exactly.
It's not working.
Shaking it. Like, is this a gag or?
yeah, so that one's pretty cool. And as I said, I'll have this stuff listed in the link down below after the show. So the Geek Foundation, we've talked about the Geek Foundation before. I actually talked to the lady that runs the Geek Foundation numerous times. I actually met her at last year's Maker Faire. So June 1st and then June 29th. So the Geek Foundation will be offering free courses in web development and IT training.
Interesting.
Now, I don't know if it's in person or if it's done online as well. Because COVID stuff, I don't know. I haven't really had a chance to talk to her on this. I will actually be recording a segment for next week's show, hopefully, to air while talking about this, so you can promote it a little bit more and get more answers on it. But the Geek Foundation is a local-based foundation here in Springfield, Missouri. But you can actually go on there, and they've got links that you don't have to be here in Springfield. You can use it and learn HTML for doing stuff online with websites. So
these are just kind of like basic web courses. These are not something that could transfer to like college credit usually.
So
yeah, because they're doing lynda.com and stuff like that, but they're still doing stuff like Code Academy. We're looking at some of the different programs for online learning. So
yep. So they do a bunch of different things like that, and they actually, with this training, they will kind of help get your foot in the door with here in Springfield with some of the tech companies. Because I don't know if you guys know,
that's cool.
Silicon Valley is out in California. Well, here in Missouri, our Silicon Valley is Kansas City. It's actually, I think, the second biggest tech place. There's a lot of companies up there that does it. So yeah, it is one of the big places to go, and people have been trying to mosey it down to Springfield for a lot of that stuff too. So there's a lot of different things going on with that.
But you know why they haven't spread to Springfield yet, Aaron?
Why?
They just like mosey it down. That's why. Mosey it on down there, partner.
Mosey it on down. Well, I'm not
Mosey?
from the Midwest at all.
Nope.
No, that's so cool. That's really, really cool that they're doing that. I got an email this last week that was I had interest. I'm interested in IT technology stuff. IT robotics and I'm super interested in stuff like that. But I'm really good with hardware stuff. I'm really, really bad at software stuff. And so, for me, something like that might actually be really cool. And you guys talk about, oh yeah, it'd be a simple Arduino program or whatever. And I'm like, nothing about that sounds simple to me. And so that would actually be a really cool introduction. The email that I got was from my local community college. And they're like, hey, are you interested in an IT job? Here's 2 classes and you take them and we can hook you up with a job here at the college. And I was like, if I wasn't already playing with toys all day long as my actual job.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
No, I understand. And TK, that does suck that both your resin printers are down.
Both his resin printers are down? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, both resin printers are down. The moment the Moai, he needs resin for it, and the Photon is damaged. The
FEP sheet.
FEP sheet, and then he's out of IPA, isopropyl alcohol. So he just doesn't want to pay 20 pounds a bottle at the moment, which I understand that.
Just hurting all around, aren't you?
So
everybody is.
And then the piece de resistance for last. NASA and SpaceX are now less than 2 weeks away from a historic crew launch, everybody.
That is very cool.
SpaceX work together now?
Well, there was 3 companies that won particular parts of the project, and SpaceX is one of them, and the other two are doing. I think one of them is doing HABs. I can't remember. Wasn't the other one doing payload distribution? Like they were going to do constant missions back and forth, like a trucking company.
I think so. But yeah, there is one company that is doing habitats.
Yeah, one's doing HABs. SpaceX is providing the rockets, and NASA is obviously providing the guidance. But I thought that third one was like basically giant payloads. They were taking care of that.
I think it might be. I mean, obviously, SpaceX is the delivery system for it. They are the bus driver, as one would
doesn't
say.
have to be responsible anymore. So.
Yeah. Well, they've not been. We send, people to Russia to fly up.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, and they've actually, so this has been a couple months. The SpaceX actually purposefully had a rocket fail as it lifted off because they weren't to test the emergency system that takes that cone there and shoots it away from the base. So they purposefully blew up a ridiculously expensive rocket that can land itself back down, which is phenomenal. It's one of the greatest endeavors we have done in space travel to reuse our rockets.
Oh no, I watch them landing on those ships all the time, landing on the bases. I think it's kind of cool that it's an interesting concept behind the whole.
Back in the 50s and 60s, all the concept art for the rockets and stuff like that, for like comics and cartoons and stuff, that's how they landed.
Yeah,
that's how they took off and landed.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we've got systems that are up to par now that could do this. We got our gyroscopes, because I mean, it's one thing you could really just use as a gyroscope. It just keeps that shifting, so it lets it know where it needs to go, just balance itself. So
but they've had gyroscopes since the 50s and 60s. It's just that
I know
from the space program was diverted to national defense instead. So that's why NASA had to take on like Rockwell and what are the guys like Grumman, and those guys kind of like privatize most of what NASA does, and now they put the bids out months ago, and now we have our new representatives who are entering our playing field to keep us current in the space race.
Oh yeah. So TK goes, as much as I love SpaceX, I would hate to be the first one in it. But then he says, yeah, but they must have used an old rocket that might have had a couple more uses. Actually, I think their rockets are to be used a lot. I don't think they really have an expiration date other than whenever, something actually fails on them and boom. Because that's the whole point of a rocket is they land back. They don't go up high enough to actually get burnt up on re-entry because they only go so far, but then they shoot the payload all the way up.
I think that I kind of think the opposite way. I think I'd almost prefer to be the first one because it's
historical.
They've tested it and tested it and tested it without a person in it. They figured out most of the bugs or all of the bugs, hopefully. But one of the problems that occur with space travel and other things as well is complacency. People do it over and over and over, and they feel like, oh yeah, we've got this. It's just another thing that we've done a million times, and that complacency is what causes failures and mistakes to be made. If you're looking at the first historic one, I think it possibly might be safer.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, I am excited for it.
Well, it looks like it's set for May 27th.
That's my birthday. Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing here on NASA.gov. Looks like they're, yeah, that's that same rocket. They're going to take it up on May 27th.
Yep. So yeah, so I mean, it's just around the corner. So I'm super excited for it.
Well, it's just a two-man crew in this thing, so that's
yeah.
cool too. So that's interesting that they're only using a two-man crew. I thought there was more room in that capsule.
I think they can do 3 or 4 in the capsule. I think it's 3.
Interesting. Well, they've done it autonomously, so now this is the first time they're going to let humans on the joystick. That'll be interesting.
Well, and the thing is, they've done it without anybody in there, so that allows them to sit there and send it up, and without the risk of people in their lives, which is super awesome. Still use a source that has been reliable, which is an old rocket style from back in the day. But if you think from back in the day, the only way that we were able to launch was with people or, a monkey.
Well, they did use a lot of those Titans to send up satellites that were as big as school buses. So, I mean, they had the ability to do it.
Oh, yeah, but
they didn't have that to go to until they built the space station.
Oh, yeah, but they didn't have the actual resources to send and get your rocket back, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, we've had computers for a long time, but the computers back then were big old beasts that took room full of equipment to do.
Yeah, but you got to think as early as the last space shuttle that's gone up, which was probably the equipment inside that space shuttle the last time it flew recently, before they retired the whole program. That particular shuttle was probably 30 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And they hadn't updated anything in it because it was like, well, it still works. But if you took technology, if you took the technology of the day that the space shuttle was retired and updated it, there's no reason why that thing could have taken off in a runway and gone into space and then come right back down again. It's just that NASA does things in a different way than the rest of the world. They do things super cautiously since they've had accidents. So, I
mean, I still remember the.
We were there.
Yeah, I remember seeing launches when I was a kid, and the launch of the former teacher who was in there, and then it blew up. I mean, I remember seeing that stuff. So
yeah, I saw that too, and then I also got to see one of the latter Saturn missions, I believe it was, when I was a kid growing up. So it's an incredible sight. But if you look at the two differences between the big bus that they sent up on 3 giant bombs compared to the normal 3 to 5 stage rocket system, which we're currently using through SpaceX, if they had gone back and said, well, let's try something old school, but let's try something different, we would be in the same place with SpaceX as with NASA, because they would have been like, well, why do we have to keep losing our 5-stage rockets? Let's just make them 2-stage or 3-stage and bring back the main system that's going to propel back to Earth without damage autonomously. I mean, they had self-driving cars in the 70s. This isn't new science. It's just that NASA does things at their own pace.
Yeah. But I mean, just take old school and new school and mash them together, and you got that. So.
Yeah, and they could have done that in the 70s and 80s when it was all available to them, and cell phones came out, and they were able to make microprocessors what the size of your pinky that could control an entire system. I mean, but they just chose not to.
My phone. If you were to take this,
I really thought was an interesting idea, but it seemed like it should have been retired for the X-71 plane a long time ago. So, is it the X-7? It was the original space plane that was supposed to take over for the shuttle. And it took off and landed on its own.
Yeah. I can't remember which one that was. I know it was X something.
Yeah, the X-37.
One challenge that I always pose to my students every year is the challenge of zero gravity, right? Because there's many long-lasting effects from being in zero gravity, and so including like bone density loss and muscle mass loss and things like that. So I always pose the question to my students, what do you do about zero gravity? How do you counteract that? What do you do? And the students always say something about like add weights, and I'm like, it doesn't matter because the weights are weightless. Everything's weightless without gravity. So I've had this theory for a couple of years. I feel like I could build a space station and create the world's first synthetic gravity using centrifugal force. So basically, a space station would be a big donut with a cylinder on the inside that would spin, and it would be made out of chambers with a hallway that went down the middle. So you'd be able to walk, through around the donut, but as it spun, it would pull everything towards the outside. So it would create an artificial sense of gravity within
it's just mass moving at a certain rate in a zero gravity situation. It's the same thing that they said about the space station. They actually sent up these centrifugal force exercise machines so that the astronauts, because you lose like 30% of your bone mass when you go into space because of zero G. So in that situation, they've come up with a way of using these centrifugal force exercise machines that put force in both directions. So when you're up on the space station and you're doing exercises, you're actually rebuilt. It's not as quick as it's being lost, but it is a certain percentage of it is going to stay with these astronauts. So now you're seeing these guys coming back from like 6 months up in the space station. They look like they've been starved. They actually look almost as good as the day they left. They may be just a little bit sickly because of lack of vitamin K or protection from the UV. Certain people react differently to that.
Oh yeah. Well, you also have to think that
space.
So yeah, Chris, you were saying on lack of gravity and everything else, but you also have to think of the time dilation as well. So the farther away from the gravity you are, the faster time moves. So
right, but if you're only creating a minor gravity using the orbital mass of one machine around a large body, the time isn't going to be. I don't think it's going to be negligible if you're out, like, say, a couple miles above the planet, or you're out drifting in space. Like you're thinking about like a nice space travel. Yeah, time. When you get back, you're going to have no sense of time, and it may be years later, which you thought was just months, because of you're creating.
Well,
you're creating a gravity well.
Yeah.
So
you'd be going down the gravity well, and it's a bunch of different pretty cool things that kind of happen. But there's those two twins, the astronaut that went up there and he came back down, and after he had come back, his body had aged faster than his twin.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's noticeable.
So I mean, there's a bunch of different things that just happen. It's just kind of a little crazy to think of that, that distance away from the Earth. Yeah, they're still there, but time moves faster for him, even if it's, a couple minutes faster, a month faster.
Well, time adds up,
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, so it's crazy. And
I put a link in the chat about that launch too. It's actually tomorrow morning for the space plane with 37B.
Okay, awesome.
8:24 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning, set to launch. So we have another thing to look for in the sky before dawn. So had no clue. It's funny. There's at the bottom of the Verge article there. If you scroll down, they're talking about obviously COVID stuff, and I can see the Verkstand's shield plastic right here in the thumbnail. It's interesting. It's everywhere, but no, there's a launch tomorrow morning.
Nice.
So Saturday morning launch.
So yeah, so that's kind of be cool to see launch. I've watched a couple of different launches, which is fun and just nice to kind of do. While I work, it's kind of cool. They well, you work for the same company I do, so but they have a monitor there in Master where you can watch a bunch of different things from other stations being put out. And I've seen actual, like SpaceX launches and just the views and everything, just counting, from all this, that, and the other. And so I get to watch that sometimes while I'm at work, which is super fun. I'm just sitting there
CBS
turn the volume up.
CBS is known for carrying all the space launches and stuff through the years, so they've had this kind of relationship with NASA, and we're allowed to show the NASA TV in the newsroom. And when there's something going on, it's always on like 3 monitors, and it's open channels with NASA TV. So you see 3 different cameras. One's usually mission control, and the other 2 are just random cameras somewhere on NASA's facility. It's kind of cool.
But yeah, it's really cool, and then I enjoy it. I like nerding out about stuff like that.
It is cool. I didn't even know there was a launch tomorrow morning, so that's kind of cool.
I did not know that there was, but I knew this launch was coming up for this one.
Yeah.
So, and I was super excited about that. I was like, all right, that's going on the show.
And it opened up a good topic about space travel.
Not last week, the week before. I think I did I had a one in of a 3D printed. It was metal 3D printed piece for a rocket.
There is a guy that's doing they look like they're metal prints. Like he's using like a, what do you call that? The ones that drop down the bead of like TIG welders.
Yeah.
And then they go back and smooth everything out, all the connections. Saw one on, I think it was on Twitter or Instagram, where a guy is using a 3D printer and he's printing just rocket casings by the dozen. And they're tall too. They're like 2-3 footers. He's using some sort of Delta printer, one at a time. But he was using some sort of metal filament and aging them or something. I don't know what he was doing with it, but they were shiny.
That's nice. So, but yeah, a bunch of things to geek out about.
Astronomy was always one of my favorite things to teach when teaching science. Always had a blast doing that. There's so many cool demonstrations you can do to kind of simulate things that are going on in space. That's really cool.
Oh yeah,
that is very
cool. Dang it.
So how are you guys doing staying at home? Are you guys all working from home, both of you guys, or?
This guy is.
Well, I'm a teacher, and so I'm teaching from home, what is called teaching in the school district, I guess. So basically, I just I'm supposed to be available from 7:30 to 3:30. 2 hours a day, I have to be on live chat, waiting for students to log in. So if they have questions or need help with an assignment that they were given, then I'm available for them. And then I just got to make sure I keep up to date on my grades and stuff. Arizona actually just reopened. I don't know if you guys saw, but the governor of Arizona issued a statement that actually is allowing reopening of a lot of businesses, and restaurants are starting to reopen and things like that.
Yeah,
what's that, Jeff?
They're happening here too. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened here as well.
The schools are done, but anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. So we're starting to reopen. So what I was doing has changed now, because now I'm able to go back to my classroom. They're not opening schools back up again to everybody, but I'm allowed to go back into my classroom and clean it out, get it ready for the summer. And so it's been a lot more physical labor, I guess, the last few days than it has been for the last couple of weeks.
That's understandable.
Oh, I can imagine. Trying to
my
get things
wife
back in order.
works, and so she works anyways. So she's been going into the hospital. So it really has only been a major change in the grocery stores. Trying to get to the grocery store. I mean, we do pretty well with food storage, and we have a little bit of a food supply just in case something were to happen. I mean, we wouldn't have to leave our house at all for, I don't know, probably 6 months. We could stay at home if we really, really needed to, other than maybe water. But it's been kind of a challenge, because there's something to be said about being able to do something even if you don't do that thing. So like, I want to go camping. I only go camping 2 or 3 times a year, maybe. But man, it's been so frustrating that I can't go camping.
Oh, I know. I'm looking at all of our camping gears, like right there. It's like right there. I keep seeing people going down to some of the beaches who live in the coastal communities, because I really like California and I love the Laguna Beach area. And I've seen some people on Facebook who are finally getting out, and they're showing. There's one guy who posts every day at like sunset of like just the tide coming and the sound of the beach and everything else. And it's like, yeah, I kind of want to go camping. I kind of want to get to the coast. I want to put my feet in the sand.
Oh,
I certainly don't want to spend an entire summer here. That's for sure, because it gets so hot here. I mean, like unbelievably hot. So.
Well, I mean, it gets to be 120 here where I'm at.
Well, you're in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But what's really cool, I live right next to a mountain, and so it's actually a sky island. So it's not part of any particular mountain range. It's actually just an island mountain that just popped up all by itself. And so because you go through the different ecosystems as you go up, you go through, I think, something like 9 distinct ecosystems from the base of the mountain, from the lower Sonoran Desert all the way up to the top of the mountain is a similar climate to like Canada. So you basically go from like Mexico to Canada within the space of 2 hours driving up the mountain.
It's like that here too with Mount Charleston. That's our high peak in the valley. And like during these months, especially where it's 80 or 90 or sometimes even close to 100, there's still snow up there. So we could go up there and, in the 2.5 hours it takes to get to the top of the hill there, and you get up there and it's like, okay, now this is doable. But then you come back down and it's like somebody drove into an oven.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago there was a big fire down on the river bottom. There's a river kind of near me, and that was the very first day that it had broke 100, and it was like 103, 104, and then somebody was burning some boxes down on the river bottom and set the whole river on fire. I call it a river fire because in Arizona anything's a river. There's water, it's a river. There's not much water in it, but it is a river. It
is a river.
The Gila River that used to be the southern border of the United States, but yeah.
Nice. Yeah. We don't have snow-peaked mountains here in the Midwest. Well, not in Missouri.
You guys are doing okay in Missouri?
Yeah, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
We've opened up stuff and a little bit more, and I'm annoyed with the morons that get out and about just to be out and about. Like, I understand you don't want to be trapped at home, but the thing is, a lot of people have been out and about on the lake, getting out, going fishing and stuff, doing stuff, where you're distanced from people, which is perfectly fine. Yeah. But the lake's hopping for stuff like that.
That doesn't help at all.
But the annoying thing is, I got used to driving and not having to deal with a bunch of people in traffic that just driving around to drive around, which I find annoying. Why are you driving just to drive? Do something. If you're going to go do something, That's just how I am. But I usually go to work and I come home before this, and that's all I still do anyway. So, I mean, I've got an acre backyard. I got plenty of room to just enjoy being away from people. Been working on my garden stuff. Well, this week and last week's been ridiculous. Like the weather's gone hot, cold, and rain all this week. So
we haven't gotten the rain yet, but we're getting the hot, cold here already. So
did you guys see the water slide I made for my kids?
See the what?
Did you guys see the water slide I made for my kids?
I did.
I did not.
So I've got a little playhouse in my backyard, and it's got a slide on it. And my wife was over she had to go to the store, and she happened to see these little inflatable pools while she was there at the store, and she was like, "I'm gonna get one. It's gonna get hot really soon. I'll blow it up and put it in the backyard for kids to at least cool off a little bit since we can't really go anywhere."
Oh yeah.
So we bought this little inflatable pool, and my kids played in it for like a day or whatever. And then I looked over at the slide on the playhouse, and I realized there was nothing anchoring it to the ground. It was just anchored on the top, and there was nothing anchoring it on the ground. And I said, I bet I could put that slide inside of the pool. And so I got like a $20 pump, like a fountain pump off of Amazon. And then I had some old tubing that was left over from an old project that I had done. And so I just put that pool right underneath the slide, dropped that pump in there, and I 3D printed some little sprinkler heads that I just duct taped onto the slide. And man, I tell you, hours and hours of fun. My kids were out there for like 5 hours the first day. It was amazing.
Well, the nice thing about doing it like that, instead of just having the hose run, is you're not wasting a bunch of water.
Oh yeah, and then the water that doesn't evaporate, because it doesn't have a filter or anything in it, so I mean, it's not like it's gonna last for a while. I mean, I have to change the water like every 2 days to keep it. But I've got a little garden in my backyard, and so I just every couple of days I just go and take a bucket and I just bucket the water over to the garden. I use it to water the plants, and then I clean out the pool and I fill it up again. So there's not really any wasted water because it's water that I would so.
Oh yeah. For sure.
That works. That's a good idea.
That's a lot of fun.
I'm sure the kids love it too.
Oh man. I've got some pictures up on Twitter. If you get a chance, you want to check it out.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I'll definitely take a look.
Yeah, they're loving it.
But yeah, no, that's fun. So this coming week, we will be on Chris's channel. I'm not sure what all he's got planned for next week's episode.
This is last week of school. All my stuff has to be done and turned in and checked out. On Monday, we're doing our promotion parade where the 8th graders are going to be in the parade, and we have to wear masks and hand them stuff through the car window.
Nice.
So next week, I will actually be done with work. I won't have anything. So I might actually have some stuff for us next week.
All right. So I will be trying to get in touch with one of the founders from the Geek Foundation. I messaged her some earlier today on it. I'm going to do a little bit of a recorded segment we can air on it. That way, just kind of promote that, and she can explain more about it and everything. And we are actually going to have her on the show at some point in time. It'll probably be a pre-recorded part for it. But since he's finishing up work this week, we can actually get that knocked out. But I don't know if we're going to have any guests. If he's got any guests lined up. We've talked about 3D Print Viking before, so we'll see on that.
Yeah, he just posted a new rendering of his printer. Did you see it?
I have not.
He posted a new rendering of his printer. It doesn't have any electronics in it yet, but he's got the box and the build plate and the lead screws and everything kind of sketched out.
Awesome.
What he wants. He's building a massive 3D printer for what he says absolutely no reason. He's just doing it just because. And I think he's started did he Kickstarter for it, or
it was a I think it was a GoFundMe. think it's a GoFundMe.
It might have been a GoFundMe. Yeah, but
because it wasn't a Kickstarter. He had sent me the link for it and stuff, so I checked it out.
Yeah,
a couple weeks back. But we'll have him on the show at some point in time. The 29th, we will see. I've been in talk with Mr. Russell, Chris Russell, and I had given him options on whenever he could try to get on, and he said possibly the 29th he'll be able to be on our show of this month. So we'll have him on coming up. Finally been trying to get to where he can be on. One of the co-founders of the Geek Foundation will have on for an episode, which will be nice. And this week I am starting something new / old back up where I had done this before, and it's going to be kind of a more constant thing. So aside from doing the AC show with Chris, I'm going to be hanging out with Aaron, the handy outdoor nerd, again. And so it'll be me and one or two other makers. We will see on that. It's just someone's schedule lines up. We will do either pre-recorded or a live segment. Wednesday is the start of this, and having our very good friend, 3D printing professor, on.
Joe's always fun to have around.
So we're going to be making things. I'm going to be trying to 3D model some stuff. I've got an idea for my kayak that I want to do something to make a rudder for it, and not just a rudder, a powered rudder, so I don't have to paddle the entire time. I've got motors from Power Wheels, and I've got a broken Craftsman saw that the battery's still good, the saw's messed up, that I can use for the power source. So it's something I'm going to be kind of trying to work on and get squared away. So that's one thing I'm going to do. I want to do something because Jeff actually inspired me to kind of just do stuff, to make stuff with his lightsaber. Actually, I actually had the idea of 3D modeling one, Jeff. You beat me to the punch, but I mean, I had the idea of modeling that one last year. I just have not had the time with, my son.
This was something that came up. I finally found some time, and this would have been out like a couple of weeks prior to this if it wasn't for my little hospital visit. And it's funny too, because there was at one point I almost kind of backed off a little bit because of busyness doing some other things. And another gentleman, whose name I can't think of right now, he's on Twitter. He actually got his printed, posted on Thingiverse, and posted up his airbrushing and everything else before mine came out. And his looks amazing too. His looks really, really cool. It was kind of weird, there was like this small, little rush of people trying to get out props from the last Star Wars movie, since it came out on DVD on Monday, and Star Wars Day was that day too. So.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you inspired me to want to kind of do things. So I'm going to try to make stuff like your lightsaber is one thing I want to do. I've got the mask from the mask that I want to do. I want to print and paint it, get it all looking really cool. So, excuse me. There's a bunch of stuff I kind of want to do. And modeling stuff's one thing I want to do. I want to try to get some more modeling stuff done. So I don't know if this is going to be like a once a month type of thing that I'm doing, but just something that I do with a maker now and again. Just kind of do, So yeah, it'd be fun. I wasn't sure who, but I was like, let's see what Joe's doing. Kind of hit him up if he wants to be on, because my mind was on, all right, people's work schedules. So yeah, so I'm excited to kind of start working on that. So it'll be Wednesday. I will have my son in here with me, because he couldn't do Mondays for a while. because he's still taking inventory of the makerspace and a bunch of other stuff. But he's actually started, I think he started this Wednesday in there. So it's like a Wednesday to Friday. He's actually starting in the makerspace doing stuff there in Utah. So he will be in there Wednesday. So I'll be doing that with him, and we'll kind of just talk and do making stuff. And he's actually going to be working on something new that he's going to kind of do. So that's kind of going to be interesting as well. So that will probably get brought up, and just kind of, just talk about life, making, and modeling stuff and the process. So
sounds like a cool show. It'll be interesting to watch it, see where you guys take it.
So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be just scheduled for time. It's going to be until, I have to, stop or whatever. And I want to get back to using my Wacom tablet now that I've got my setup here. So yeah, I just kind of want to get back into it, get back into drawing stuff and just making stuff, and just feel like I'm doing more than just pulling my hair out and cleaning stuff. So
Good idea.
But yeah, that's kind of some stuff that's going to be coming up, and as I said, it's going to be, I don't know how regular of a show, but maybe a once a month thing. That way the wife doesn't kill me on that. So yeah. So until then, everybody, we hope you enjoy the show. TK, thank you for popping in chat and having fun. And yeah, I do know that we haven't been super chatty with chat on it, because the last thing he had talked about is he remembers that NASA spent a lot of money on making a pen that worked in space. Yes, they did. They spent a lot of money on that. He says they could have just used a pencil. They could have.
Through that, they could have.
But it's NASA, so
Not as cool though. Not as cool.
Yeah, not
it's
cool. Yeah, not as cool at all. Upside down pen, much cooler.
The cool
Space pens are much
factor
cooler
is
than
important.
pencils.
So, but yeah. But next week we will be on Chris's show. Definitely looking forward to him having a little more free time to do stuff. And then, whenever school starts back up, it'll be a little bit different. But there'll be less of a time change. He'll be an hour behind me instead of 2 hours. So that helps the show a little bit with his tried to convince him to move to Missouri, but he just digs his heels in, says, I've lived in Arizona my whole life. I'm going to grow old.
You know what, Aaron? I am a 7th generation Arizonian. Let me tell you, my great grandfather founded the town that I live in.
Wow. That's cool. I wouldn't leave either. Why would you want to leave? That's
and
the
I'm
coolest
named
thing
ever.
That's the coolest thing ever. Don't leave.
I didn't grow up here though. So I mean I've lived in Arizona my whole life, but I haven't lived in this town my whole life.
TK, take care. Here. Have a good one.
See you later, TK. I moved here my senior year of high school. So for me, like I have tons and tons of family here, but I didn't know any of them because I never lived here. So my senior year of high school, trying to find a date to the prom, yikes. I tell you, let me put it this way. My grandfather had 14 brothers and they all lived here in the same town. So if that gives you anytime I'd meet a girl and I found out that her last initial started with the same letter, it was like,
nope.
I'd have to go and talk to my resident historian, my mother, and be like, hey, were you related to this person? Luckily my wife and I, we were able to I found a girl that's like, I'm related to half of the valley and she's related to the other half of the valley. So
there you go.
We just kind of merged the two sides. Our kids are screwed though. So
it's the Hatfields and the McCoys.
So
I mean, there's no ill feelings. It's just that they're all related.
So everybody, thank you so much for joining us in this episode. If you're watching it on the rerun, greatly appreciate that. So we hope you're here for the next week's episode, and we will catch you all then. Thank you again to Jeff for finally being able to join us and showing off your lightsaber.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. It was cool.
So,
nice to chat with you guys.
Oh, that's always fun. So till then, everybody, take care. Happy making.